What's up, YouTube friends? So today I have a very quick and easy Patriotic table runner. You can keep this table runner on your table all summer long. This is very similar to the 2.5-inch strip table runner that we did a few weeks back, but I think this one's even easier, and it's fat quarter friendly. So the things you're going to need to make this red, white, and blue table runner are a fat quarter of a blue fabric. Now today I'll be using up the rest of this blue fabric that I used on those placemats that we made with the pocket. This came from a subscriber, Judy, so thank you very much again. You're also going to need 2 fat quarters of red fabric. So I'll be using this red stripe and also this red polka dot. And then you're just going to need some white fabric. Now I'll be using this white with blue stars. I thought it was very appropriate for this table runner. And this was actually yardage. As I mentioned, this is fat quarter friendly, but if you do just want to use yardage, get a quarter each of these fabrics by the width on the bolt. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm going to cut my blue fabric into 6 6.5-inch squares. And that's what I have right here. And then for my red and white fabric, I went ahead and I cut those into 2.5-inch strips. So if you're just using the fat quarter, I went ahead and cut 3 2.5-inch strips from the fat quarter. And if you're doing the yardage, 2 will just be plenty. So now I'm just going to set my 6.5-inch squares off to the side for a minute. I'm going to grab my first red fabric. I'm going to lay it with the right sides up. Then I'm going to grab my white fabric. I'm going to match that up so that the right sides are facing. And with a 1/4-inch seam allowance, I'm going to start right here and backstitch, and I'm going to sew all the way down the length of my strip, backstitching at the end. Alright, so when that's done, I'm going to come down here to the bottom and I'm going to just trim off my extra white fabric. I can save that and put that in my strip basket. And now we just want to give this a press. And I'm going to press my seams to the red fabric. Next, I'm going to take my second piece of red fabric. This is the red polka dot. I'm going to lay it over the white with the right sides touching. And with that 1/4-inch seam allowance, I'm going to start here at the beginning and backstitch. I'm going to sew all the way down, backstitching at the end of my red fabric. And just like before, I'm going to press my seam towards the red fabric. Just like that. Now when you are cutting your fabric, if you're using the fat quarters, you want your 2.5-inch strips down the length of the 20 or 22-inch side. That'll just give you a little bit more length to work with. Now ultimately we're going to need 6 6.5-inch blocks out of these strip sets. So I'm going to sew up the rest of my strip sets and I'll bring you right back. Alright guys, so I fibbed to you a little bit. I'm only going to do 2 of the strip sets. Now the red polka dot was my fat quarter. I did cut it along the 21-inch side. So I should be able to get 3 blocks out of this one and 3 blocks out of this one. We're only going to need 6. But by all means, if you want this longer, go ahead and sew up your other strip sets. But before we cut these, I'm going to actually measure it. And today it actually looks like these are 6.25 inches, which isn't a big deal. I just had a little chunky 1/4-inch seam allowance today. So I'm going to cut my blocks 6.25 inches. Now I am going to have to come back and cut these to 6.25 instead of 6.5, but that's not a big deal. And like I said, that just depends on your seam allowance. So I'm going to come down here to 6.25 and trim off my block. So out of one of those strips, you should get 3 blocks. So I'm just going to do the same thing to this other strip. And now I'm just going to trim down my blue blocks. So I'm going to stack about 3 of these together at a time. and then just take off a 1/4 inch on the top and on one of the sides. So just that much away. And now the fun part, we're just going to lay this out. So I'm going to take a blue one first. Then I'm just going to take my strip set and I'm going to lay it so my polka dot one is facing up. Now for the bottom, I'm going to stick a strip set first and then one of my blue blocks. And then I'm just going to continue to alternate that. So it'll be a blue one up here, a strip set down here, and so on until I have this all laid out. Or what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to turn mine this way so that my stripes are going up and down. Just like that. So either way will work. It's just what you prefer. So to sew these together, I'm going to sew them together in 3 blocks. So I'll just push these out of the way for a minute. So for these 4, I'll go ahead and I'll take the top 2. I'll lay this one over on top with the right sides touching, and with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'll backstitch at the beginning and sew all the way down. Now I'll also do the same thing with these bottom 2. So I'm just going to lay them right sides together, sew it with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'll bring you right back. So when I have those sewed together, I'm going to press my seam to the blue fabric on all of these little strip sets. And that way our seams will nestle up nicely for this next step. So next I'm just going to fold this over with the right sides touching. I'm going to nestle my seams together and stick a pin. And then I'm just going to take this over to my sewing machine with that 1/4 inch seam allowance and sew all the way down this edge, backstitching at the beginning and the end. And I'm going to do that to my other blocks, so I should have 3 of these blocks when I'm finished. So when that's all finished, I'm going to give these a good press, and I want to make sure that these are pressed nice and flat. Now for 2 of these blocks, you want your seams pressing the same direction, and for 1 of the blocks, you want your seam pressing the opposite direction. So for these 2, my seam is facing down, and for this one, I pressed it up. So this will be our middle piece. So now we just need to finish up our top. So I'm going to take my middle piece, I'm going to match up my center seams, and make sure that my seams nestle together nicely. So now I'm just going to take this back over to my sewing machine. And with that 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm going to sew all the way down this side. When I finish that, I'm going to open it up. I'm going to grab my next piece, put right sides together, and I'll do the same thing on this seam. And just like that, our table runner top is finished. So now all we need to do is find some batting, a backing, quilt this up, and throw a binding on it. Now as you know, I like to use flannel in my table toppers. I think it just makes them lay a lot flatter. So I will be using some flannel. This time I think I will use this batik fabric for the backing. It got some greens and purples and blues. That way when Mother's sick of looking at this side, she can just flip it over and use this until fall. And I'll also be using black binding. As you know, I like to use black binding in my table runners. I just think it frames it out nicely. Now I'm not going to show that process in this video, but I will link a video in the iCard here or over here. And I'll also link a video at the end of this video where I go through the whole process. So I'll bring you back when this is all finished. But right now, FedEx just dropped off our new pool. It's been very hot this week, so I'm going to get that set up and running. Alright, so here is what it looks like all finished up. It's just under 35 inches long. And I think it turned out great. And like I said, I really like to use the black for the binding. I just think it makes everything pop. Now here is the back. Now I ended up just doing diagonal quilting. I've been in kind of a diagonal quilting mood lately. Now this is a perfect summertime table runner. You can keep this on your table from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Well, I hope you give this video a try. If you like this video and want to see more of my videos, go down below and hit that big red subscribe button. And give this video a big thumbs up. And if you're already subscribed, go ahead and make sure that you are still subscribed. I have been getting comments saying, welcome back. We're glad you're making videos again. And people, I haven't went anywhere. I also got a comment from a subscriber saying that they were not getting my videos in their subscription box. So go ahead, make sure that you are subscribed. And if you'd like to be notified when I post a video, go ahead and hit that bell notification button. That way they'll send you a little email when I do post a video. I also post all my videos over on Facebook, so if you'd like to friend me over there, the link is down below. I also have a link to my Etsy shop down below if you'd like to support this channel and see what I'm making and selling over there. And as always, thanks for watching. I hope everyone has a safe and happy summer, and I'll see you next time.